Welcome to this latest edition of the Ril Dil Podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Ril Dil Quinn. Recording this, of course, on a Monday, episode 899. So the next episode we record later on this week, probably on Wednesday, will be 900, and it will be for Snowfall. Will be the next edition of Snowfall, season 1, episode 7. We're through 6 episodes so far with Snowfall. So with Snowfall, of course, we're doing a rewatch from seasons 1 through 3. So check that out when you get a chance to. It is good to be back with you, just talking some sports. We'll do some pop culture as well, as we're going to celebrate hip hop at 50. So we're going to start a series on that. But we begin in the DMV. The Washington Commanders have a new owner. It was announced, of course, last Friday. It was not announced, but it was made official that Josh Harris would be the new majority owner of the Commanders. $6.05 billion he paid for this franchise, which is, of course, is a record for a franchise in any sport, any team sport. And of course, that's no surprise. It's the NFL product, which is probably the most valuable product in all the sports. Even Daniel Snyder couldn't keep Washington from being the most valuable franchise in terms of paid, in terms of the buyout fee, not buyout fee, but in terms of them getting $6 billion for it. Now, imagine if we hadn't had Snyder all these years, the franchise probably would be worth probably $10 billion. So keep that in mind. But regardless of that, Washington has a new owner, and with that comes hope. I have hope of a new day, a new era for a fan base that has been, I shouldn't say starving, has been probably some of the most disrespected fans in all the sports. Over the better part of the last 24 years, they have had simply the worst owner in all the sports, if not one of the worst owners in the history of sports. And that's not no exaggeration. Like, since 1999, this team has been run as poorly as any franchise known to man. You can take any franchise, and you can take the worst franchises from any sport, and I challenge you, and I promise you that they have not been run worse than this team on as well as off the field, and particularly off the field. As bad as they've been on the field, they have been. I can't even say they. He was even worse as an owner off the field. And I'm not going to spend too much time on Snyder, because I'm not going to say anything that already has not been said about him. I'm glad he's gone. It was a long time coming. I don't care that he's getting $6 billion. I just wanted that he just needed to be out the door. I don't even care about the fact that he's getting paid from this, to be honest with you. You'll hear something like, talk about an athlete or a person. You'll say, hey man, that dude or that young lady, they're great athletes, but you know what? They're even better people. With Daniel Snyder, it was like, this guy's a horrible owner, but he was even a worse person, if that was possible. So as bad as he was of an owner as he was even a worse human being. Like, he was like this guy. You borderline on being a criminal, and he did some criminal activity, as far as maybe he shouldn't be locked up, but borderlining on being a criminal. That's how bad of a person that this guy was, and that's how toxic. And he was like the epitome of a cancer. And this franchise will be, like I said, this franchise is definitely going to be addition by subtraction from that standpoint. But with that being said, Josh Harris comes in. I want the expectation, if you're a fan of the team, which I'm a fan of the franchise and have been for a long time now, going back, to the Joe Gibbs, Bobby Beathard, that whole, or, Jack King Cook, that reign during the 80s, and when they were winning championships and when they were one of the premier franchises, and not only in all of football, but in all the sports. You have to hold this team, this franchise, to a expectation that goes beyond, hey, at least he's not Snyder. Not being Daniel Snyder is almost impossible to be as bad as Daniel Snyder. It's almost impossible. So that should not be the standard for Josh Harris. Josh Harris comes in with a lot of excitement. He said a lot of great things. He's relatively young. For owner, it's only 58. He has 12 years of experience in terms of ownership, in terms of with the Sixers, Crystal Palace, also with the New Jersey Devils. So he does not get the honeymoon that you would give most new owners, because frankly, he's not a new owner. This is not his first time this is not his first rodeo as far as owning a professional sports team. Which if you're a fan of the team, that's not a good thing. That's a great thing. You're coming in with a guy, though this would be his first time owning a football team. You're coming in with a guy that knows how to run a franchise. And before we even talk about what needs to be done, I don't want to hear another word about the name, to be honest with you. That to me, that was the name thing is last on the list of things that need to be changed about this franchise. You have to shift the entire culture that's been infected over the past 24 years. You have to change your culture, which is the hardest thing to do in all sports, is to change a culture, especially when you have had a culture of losing and a toxic culture at that goes beyond just losing, just a toxic culture in general, with the workplace, with the federal investigations that have happened because of Daniel Snyder. So that's the first thing. Okay, they have so many things to do that go beyond just a name. He has to decide which people that he wants to keep within that organization from an infrastructure standpoint. He has to decide who goes and who stays. Now, Rivera's going to be there as a head coach. Okay, he's assuming that they'll probably keep the majority of their front office people. There'll be some tweaks here and there. But they have so many decisions. First and foremost, they got to get a new state. They need a stadium and a quarterback. So on the field, you need a quarterback. Off the field, you need a brand new stadium. So the name thing is that's neither here nor there as far as I'm concerned right now. Like, the name thing is the last thing that should be on people's minds. Now again, this is the Daniel Snyder effect, because the name is horrible. The Commander, we know, is one of the worst names in all of football, maybe in all of sports. It's just a horrible name. We know the name is trash. I'm not defending the name. What I'm telling you is there are way more important things to do within that organization than a name change. Like, the name thing it's just not something that's important in terms of the grand scale of this organization. What needs to be changed within this organization, like I said, from an infrastructure standpoint, from a culture standpoint, before we even talk about on the field. So I'm not concerned about the name. That's the last thing that you should be worrying about if you're a fan of the team, to be honest with you. And again, he said all the right things at the press conference. I don't care that he grew up in the Chevy Chase area and he was a fan of the team growing up. I could care less about that stuff. That stuff means nothing to me, because ultimately it's going to be coming down to actions and deeds. He's going to have to go out there and shift an entire culture that's been toxic for 24 years. And it sounds nice, buying the fans beers, cool. That's a nice little goodwill gesture. That's cute. But he's going to have to change. He's going to have to change the culture. Can he do the job? Sure. Like now you may not agree with how he went about it in terms of Philadelphia, the process and all that, and the whole and all that, and how they went about their infrastructure with the culture. And a lot of people still don't like the culture in Philadelphia right now. But the bottom line is they've had they had a championship caliber roster this season. That team on the paper, that team had a championship caliber roster. Like I can't blame him for Embiid and Harden and their behavior and their mentalities. That's not his fault. He put the necessary pieces, as a franchise, they put the necessary pieces within that franchise, general manager coaching that it thought that they could get the team to a championship level. But that's, listen, they're in the conversation. That's all you want to be. Winning a championship is hard in sports. It's hard to win the championship. There are teams and franchises, there are a number of franchises that haven't gotten to the championship level, let alone winning a championship. You just want to be in the conversation. Year in and year out. You want to be in the conversation. That's all you want to be as a franchise. You want to be in the conversation. And like I said, it is an enormous advantage for him to have 12 years of experience of owning a team. That means he's made a number of mistakes, because they all do. All owners, all of them make mistakes at the beginning. You can go back. I don't care who, Robert Kraft. I don't care Jerry Jones, whoever great owner. I don't care what owner you're talking about. They all make mistakes in the beginning. All of them, especially nowadays with these new owners right nowadays who want to make big splashes right away. That stage, should be out of his system as far as when to make a big splash and when to put his input on the franchise and when to be. I hope he's not the type of owner that is a look at me type owner. That's the problem in sports right now. You have too many owners who want to be in front of the camera instead of behind the scenes and getting the work done, and letting smart people who are experts at their particular jobs, general manager, personnel, allowing them to do their jobs. Again, he seems like in the stuff that you read, he seems like now all these guys, all these new owners, I don't care who it is in any sport, they're paying a fortune for these franchises. So they're going to be hands-on. They're going to be hands-on somewhat. That's just part of it. They're paying a fortune for these franchises. We're talking billions of dollars. So that's going to come with, that's just going to come with the territory of, with the expectation of, that's just a part of it. You're just going to have to deal with that. I just don't need my owner doing press conferences. I don't need my owner in front of the media. I don't need my owner to want to be a part of the story, to want to be a story. I don't now. Coaches get coach getting fired, general manager getting fired. That's one thing. You're answering to ask questions or answering questions about those types of situations. But I don't want my owner talking about personnel. I don't want my owner talking about the players, to be honest with you. I want those conversations to be had behind closed doors. And not just in Washington over the past 20 years. It's too much going on around that in sports, where these owners are actually making personnel decisions. Like, no, we don't want to. I don't want another Jerry Jones in here. I don't want an owner who, has their own draft board. I don't want an owner who, goes to a game and in essence tries to make a scene by, taking a ball from a player. Like, I don't want my owner in the headlines from that standpoint. Again, Josh Harris from the onset said all the right things. There isn't, for the first time in 24 years as a franchise, the Washington Commanders have an adult in the room. They have an adult in the room because they had a child, in essence, running the franchise for the past 24 years. A child. So you have an adult in the room. You have somebody who is respected by his peers as far as ownership, because he's been an owner. So, and all these owners in various sports communicate and talk, and they have business dealings and things of that nature. They all know each other. not just in the NFL, but just in all circles of sports. All these rich guys, these wealthy guys know each other. Trust me, they all of them do. So again, he has a lot of work to be done. Again, there's more work to be done off the field than there is actually on the field. And they have some work. They have work to be done on the field with the quarterback situation, the offensive line. We can go through that. We'll go through that as the NFL season as the NFL season approaches with training camp and things of that nature. But more work to be done within the infrastructure of this franchise. Like, the one thing this franchise has not had since Jack Kent Cooke was the owner was a foundation. Where's the foundation? They haven't had one since. And that is something that's going to take time to build with the general managers, with your personnel people. He has to get in people that he trusts. He has to talk to a lot of people. He's going to have to do a lot of research in terms, because this is the NFL. It's not the NBA. So it's a totally different sport. Totally different sport in terms of managing salary cap and things of that nature. And you're not dependent on, superstars, individual stars as much as a team, 53-man roster and what have you. So he has to get in the right football people. Now, Magic Johnson is great. Having a Magic Johnson, that's from a marketing, branding standpoint, Magic, you will not get a better, more respected person than Magic Johnson. And I'm happy that Magic is a minority owner. I shouldn't even say that word, minority owner, with the team, but I'm happy Magic is a part of this franchise. Magic has done nothing but had done nothing but have success in his life on and off the court. There's not a better guy that you can have in that position than Magic Johnson. But Magic Johnson is not going to be making football decisions per se in terms of on the field. He has to find people that he is comfortable with. Not comfortable. He has to find smart people that that understand the game, understand personnel. If he doesn't feel like they don't have those people in place right now. And, from a sense of, he is new from a sense of, again, owning a football team. So from that sense, he is new from that standpoint. But with that being said, you still, as a fan, should hold him to a high standard, considering what has transpired over the last 24 years and considering the fact that he is not new as an owner in terms of running a professional sports team. But it's not going to be an overnight process. They have a lot of work to do with this franchise. I'm not even sure Rivera is the guy. Like, do you want Rivera to have as much power as he has? These are questions that he's going to have to answer, that he's going to have to get the answer to, and that this is something that he's going to have to address seemingly right away. I myself I think it's a major problem that Ron Rivera has decisions over personnel. I don't like it myself. Like, give some personnel people, general manager, vice president people, personnel people that you trust, that from a football standpoint, and Ron just coach the team. Like, I don't think Ron. That's it. That would be my first on-field football thing I would say within the organization that I would do if I were him. Like, Ron, we like you. We love you on this team. Love you as a coach. As far as making personnel decisions, no, we're not. That has not been a winning formula. That's not been a winning formula in the NFL. And frankly, Ron Rivera is not at that level of as a head coach to be. He's not Andy Reid. He's not Bill Belichick. I don't even want Belichick making personnel, but Belichick has won so much at this point. It is what it is. But even Andy Reid has a say, but not Andy Reid is not making personnel decisions as far as drafting. Yeah, they'll get his input somewhat, but he's not making the final decisions from that standpoint. So that's one of the first things that they're going to have to address. He'll have to address. But it is a new era for the Washington football team. You've seen ticket sales are already going up. Fans are excited, but again, it's the proof will be in the pudding. Like, these fans have been through a lot. these fans have been through a lot as a fan base over the past 24 years. They are not going. Excuse me here. Sorry about that. They are not going to. You're not going to sit up here and just buy them with some beers and with some nice words during the press conference. It's going to be a show and tell. It's going to be, again, actions and deeds in terms of rebuilding the relationship, rebuilding, the trust in this franchise. Once again, it's going to take some time. So running backs are seemingly, under attack. if you want to phrase it that way. Listen, so running backs are in a state of panic, are in a frustrated state right now. You have a situation where there are only 5 running backs making over $10 million a year. Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, and Saquon Barkley all have some contract issues right now, all looking for new deals. Saquon Barkley turned down, a big deal earlier in the offseason that could have got him $26 million guaranteed. So that's it, and he would have made it. When he would have making $13 million annually, so that's his own fault. Between him and his agent, who thought he could get more money, or that's his own, that's his own deal. Should have took that. He should have took the first deal, that deal. Now he's only going to get paid $10 million with the franchise tag. So here's the bottom line, right? First of all, this is nothing new from a standpoint of running backs being devalued. You cannot win a championship if your running back is one of your highest paid players. The contracts, there have been some contracts that have been given out. Look at some of these ridiculous contracts that have been given out to running backs over the past couple of years. They have not worked out for the particular teams. Didn't work out in Carolina with McCaffrey. Didn't work out with Todd Gurley with the Rams. Did not work out with in regards to, of course, the worst was the Ezekiel Elliott contract that was signed a few years back. 5 years, $90 million, which was, even at the time, I told you this on this podcast, that was an awful contract, and it would not work out. It did not work out, and the Cowboys not only have not won a Super Bowl, they haven't gotten to a conference championship during that time period, and Ezekiel Elliott was cut this offseason. So you can't pay a running back and field a team that can be a championship contender. You just can't. And the stats, the data proves it. The last 14 teams that have won the Super Bowl, their leading rusher has made an average of $1.4 million. That's all you need to know. So this ideal that, listen, there are a lot of things that I don't like about the NFL. A number of things in terms of just, there's a laundry list. I can't knock the NFL or teams for not paying running backs. And there's this narrative going around, whereas it's not just on Twitter, but just in general, that running backs are being targeted and they're trying to make the position extinct and all this other bullshit. You don't need a running back you can't pay a running back and be a top team in the NFL. You just can't do it. And there's no need to pay a running back. This is not, it's like, what part of that does, I don't know. I don't know what part of that are people not seeing or not understanding. I get the running backs complaining because this is their livelihood. They should advocate for themselves or wholeheartedly, 100%. I don't get other people I don't get media people trying to advocate for the running backs and saying they don't understand it. What do you mean? What part of it do you not understand? The quarterback salaries are skyrocketing, okay, by the day. So at certain point, someone had to. There was a position that was going to have to be sacrificed as far as salary, and there is no position like the running back is a perfect position not to pay. The guys get banged up with the amount of physical wear and tear, and they're done. Most running backs are done by 27, 26, 27 years old. They're cooked. So yeah, no, there's no reason to pay a running back. None. The bigger issue to me, is, if you're a running back, if I'm a running back right now, my anger is not with the team or even with the league. I'm going to, what about the Players Association? What is the Players Association? Because truthfully, the franchise tag hurts a lot of players. In terms of getting a second contract or becoming an outright free agent at a young age. We know NFL players have limited time to perform. Players are out 3 years. Our average career is 3 years, and 3 years or less. The average career lasts in NFL. But to me, if I'm a player in the league, I'm pushing for the Players Association to fight to get the franchise tag removed. Like I don't hear that conversation going on enough. The franchise tag absolutely hamstrings players. It ties them down. It is you basically can control the player for the first 5 or 6 years of their career. At the running back position, by the time that's up, they're done. They're more likely they're going to be done. They're going to be cooked. So that's the big picture. That is a big picture conversation that needs to happen. How do we fight to get rid of this franchise tag? And I haven't heard. And I haven't even. And again, it's more. It's unlikely that it will ever happen. But I haven't even heard a conversation to even push for it by the Players Association. And the NFL Players Association is a definition of weak. When I mean weak, they have zero backbone, none. And the players as a whole have no organization. And that's why the NFL continuously runs over them and will continue to run over them and do what the NFL will do whatever they want, because the players as a whole have no organization between the Players Association and the players around the league. They're not organized as far as fighting against the systems. Some of these systems that the NFL has put in place that are pro-league, anti-player. When it comes to salary structures, the NFL is making the NFL, again, is the most valuable sports product in all the sports in terms of 4 major sports by far. And it's not even close. I know the NBA is making billions of dollars and is about to get a new television deal, but the NFL product is still by far and away the most superior in terms of value, the most superior sports product. But yet, the players continuously get, screwed over, depending on, who you are. And like I said, it's only going to get worse because quarterback salaries are only going to go up. If I'm ranking the importance of positions just on offense, let's put defense aside for a second. If I'm ranking the importance and the value of positions on offense, quarterback 1, offensive tackle 2, wide receiver 3, maybe running back 4, maybe. I can make a case. I'd rather have a top tight end than a good running back. If I have to pay somebody, I'd rather pay I'll pay a tight end before I pay a running back. If he's any good. So, the idea that these running backs are going to get paid, they're not. The running back salaries are not going to go up until the NFL Players Association fights for the players and the entire salary structure that fights for those players in terms of that salary structure going up. And even that's not going to guarantee that those salaries go up. I'll venture to say that the NFL running back salaries are probably going to decrease. To be honest with you, I think 10 million is going to be 10 million might be the max moving forward, if that. And I don't care how great the player is, because remember, even if you come out of college and you're destroying people, you're going to be on a rookie deal coming out of college. They're not paying you $10 million a year on a rookie deal. So if you come out of college destroying, at worst, at most, you're making probably $4 or $5 million a year on a rookie deal. And there's no way that the NFL is going to up the rookie scale in terms of salaries. That's not happening. Veteran players not going to allow that to happen. So what is the next step if you're a running back, right? What do you do? What is your move as a running back? Let's say let's say you're in college, right? Or high school. And these are conversations, right, that you should be having, that parents, coaches should be having with these players right now. If you're a superstar running back in high school, college, what have you, in terms of what your future, if you're planning ahead for your future, in terms of what it could look like at that position. Do you say, let's assume that you cannot switch positions and have a pathway to make it to the NFL? Because I hear that already. You know, parents saying, "Hey, I'm just gonna I won't let my son play. Just won't play football. Not play football. Won't play. Just won't let my son be a running back." Well, that might be a son's only pathway to making it to the NFL. What if he's just that gifted as a runner? What if he's just that gifted? That might be in terms of his size or in terms of whatever. What if he's just born to play running back? There are guys that are just born to play running back. Like I said, if that's his only pathway to the NFL, then what are you going to do? So I think, to me, I think that, you have to increase your value as a running back, you gotta go out. You have to be a great receiver as well. Like you have to be like a Marshall Faulk or a Roger Craig or Ricky Waters. In the ilk of those guys, you have to be an all-purpose, dual-purpose running back that can catch the ball out the backfield just as good. That can catch the ball just as good as he can run it. Even Christian McCaffrey. So at least when your contract's up, maybe you have a situation where, hey, I can move to wide receiver, possible, or I don't have as much wear and tear on me. I'm still having gas left in the tank. But the idea, I'm just saying for them just to stay in the league. I don't think you're ever going to see a situation where running backs are making top big money in the NFL. The quarterbacks are making just too much money. Again, someone had to a position had to be sacrificed when if you have a quarterback that's going to be making like $40 to $50 million, and these salaries are only going to go up. Once this next group of quarterbacks sign their deals, Burrows, Herberts, once those guys get new deals, it's only the quarterback money is only going to go up. It's not going down, or it's not going to level out anytime soon. It's only going to go up as the years go by. And wide receivers as well. Pass rushers now. You have defensive ends, defensive line. You have interior guys are getting big money now. Those guys playing, Aaron Donald's position. Those guys, the guy from the Jets just got a big deal. I think it's Quentin Williams. No, there was a time when those guys didn't get. Those guys. There was a time when that position wasn't as valued as it is now. That position is just as valued as even a pass rusher. To be honest with you. So again, as those positions, especially along with quarterback, go up, then the running back position will continue to be devalued. That's just the way it's going to be. There's nothing that's going to change this. It's only going to get worse for the running backs. And again, I think it'll be interesting moving forward. Seeing what what effect will this have on the game of football moving forward, as far as these college and high school these college and high school players playing college football as they move into the NFL.
I remember one time walking in the studio, it was like a small gap, bleak beans. Everybody was in there, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all got a chance right now. Just flood it, put out a lot of music, because 50 Cent is coming. 4 months later, in the club hit, and it was over. And It was just like, okay, now everybody got to sit on the sidelines and wait this tidal wave out.
So hip hop, of course, it turned 50 this year. They're celebrating a year long hip hop. They're celebrating a year long celebration for the world of hip hop. At 50, which is remarkable how long hip hop is 50. And with that being said, we're gonna look back at 2003. We'll do a segment each program for the rest of I'll say for the rest of the year to celebrate the world of hip hop turning 50. We're gonna look back at 2003 and in particular 50 Cent's album "Get Rich or Die Trying." Now, when this album came out, of course, this album came out in February of 2003. This was some of the albums that came out in hip hop and R&B that year. You had Jay-Z came out, Jay-Z, Outkast, Ludacris, Freeway, Beyonce, R. Kelly, Alicia Keys, Ashanti, T.I. That's just the name. That's just off. Those are just the main people that came out. It was a number. 2003 was a big year for hip hop and R&B, for music in general. But there was one guy that stood above everybody, and that was 50 Cent with "Get Rich or Die Trying." This album sold 872,000 copies in its first week. It was the most anticipated rap album going back to probably since it was probably the most. There was talk during that time that it was the most anticipated debut album since Biggie's "Ready to Die." So that's I mean, there was a bidding war for 50 Cent amongst the labels. He was independent. He was doing his independent thing for his mixtape. He was on the mixtape circuit for years. And it was only a matter of time before this album could only succeed, because you're talking about you're talking about him being groomed by Jam Master Jay. You're talking about production. You're talking about having Dr. Dre and Eminem as kind of like mentors and producers and what have you. And you had a situation where you had an actual street dude who was actually in the streets talking about shit that actually happened. What a concept! Somebody who actually was in the streets and was about that life, talking about his life. And of course, we're talking about 50 Cent in regards to him getting shot 9 times, surviving, and coming and surviving that and coming back. He would travel with bulletproof vests, bulletproof windows, and travel vans. It was when all that went down. And I don't remember when he was shot. I don't remember, like, in 2000. I didn't really know who 50 Cent was in 2000, but when you're reading some stuff about the story, leading all that, how that went down, and just in his life in general, you wouldn't believe it unless it actually happened. Like he literally has had a life with his, what transpired with his mom, and with him hitting the streets at the age of 12, selling drugs at the age of 12. But it's one of those lives that was made for the movies and made for storytelling. And one of the reasons why the album was what it was. Again, I know a lot of people listen. Seven. Looking back at the album, 7 of the songs were produced in 5 days. You had "In the Club" was a top song on Billboard charts for like 9 weeks. And I re-listened to it recently. We listened to it today. Then 19 tracks. You really only had about 3 or 4, only 2 or 3 tracks that were skippable, which is not a lot for considering that it was that the album was 19 tracks. It literally. I don't think I'm speaking out of context while saying this. It has to be considered one of the best albums of the 21st century, hip hop albums of the 21st century. I don't think there's any question about that, from that, considering not only the success, but just the quality of the album. I mean, this album from top to bottom was a high level album, production wise, storytelling. He's getting groomed by, he came in this album, he sounded polished. You could tell all the years doing the mixtapes and things of that nature kind of paid off. He did not sound like a guy who that just came out with a debut album. It didn't sound. He sounded very polished at that young of an age. I forgot how old he was when his album came out. I want to say probably what 23, 22, 23, somewhere around the 22, 23. This was one of the best hip hop albums of the 21st century. There's no two ways about it. And I know 50 Cent is not, a lot of people don't like 50 Cent in regards, the number of beefs that he's gotten into with music people, rappers, executives, and what have you, and especially in his earlier days. But the body of work, as far as a debut album, in terms of commercial success, that, I mean, what? Who else? I mean, who else in the last 20 years has had a better debut album? Maybe outside of Kendrick. Maybe Kendrick. I would say probably Kendrick. That list is very short as far as best debut albums in the last 20 or 25 years. I'm not even counting the 90s. Let's put the 90s aside. Let's say 2000, from 2000 on, who has had a better debut album? I would say Kendrick with Good Kid, Mad City, off the top of my head. Who else? I mean, who else to think about? Who else has had a better debut album? So this was definitely an album that kind of ushered in a new style of rap. Not so much a new style of rap, but it kind of, listen, a lot of people try to copy this album in terms of, you start hearing about guys who actually, I guess it ushered in the fake gangster. I can't even say maybe a return to gangster rap, maybe it invigorated gangster rap, but it also created a lot of fake gangsters because dudes who were not about that life started trying to sound like 50 Cent, started talking about shit that they weren't doing in the streets. So it kind of reinvigorated that type of rap, so to speak, before Kanye came in and kind of, and did what he did as far as changing music. But this album was, Good Kid. No, again, Good Kid. No, and by the way, Good Kid, Mad City wasn't Kendrick's first album. Section 80. This is right there with Section 80. I mean, I probably. This is I could make a case this probably was the best debut album last one. I'm looking at Section 80. I could probably make a case that this was even better than Section 80. This was right there. This is right there as the best debut album of the 21st century. We're gonna continue this. Continue looking at hip hop at 50. This album's total sales was 9 as of right now. As a last check, had 9 million units sold worldwide. 9 million units sold total. Matter of fact, that number might even be at 10 million. Trying to look now. 9 million. So he sold 9 million albums as of 2023. And you've heard it a lot recently because of the sales have gone up because of the anniversary, the 20th anniversary of the album coming out. 2003 was just a big year in general for hip hop. It was a huge year for hip hop, but there was no question that this album was at the top of the charts, at the top of the heap in terms of the hip hop game. The real thoughts before I let you go. Jamie Foxx is back. Now he didn't do a press conference, but he recorded a video over the weekend. And again, you can tell, some of the after effects of him being sick over the past, month or so. But it was just good to see him back. First, good to see him alive. It was very, very much touch and go, seemingly, with what was going on. People didn't know. I mean, obviously, people didn't know what exactly happened. All types of speculation, whether she was a stroke or what have you. No one knows what happened. In regard, he said he had tubes in his nose, but no one knows in regards like what exactly happened. That's one thing that his family did a great job of keeping it kind of nip tucked from that standpoint. They had every right to do so. Like, it really was none of our business in terms of what was his sickness. It really wasn't. You start hearing these ridiculous conspiracy theories about cloning and all this other bullshit. But it was good to see him talking. And he sounds like he's going to start working again. So, we'll see. We'll see his progress from that standpoint. But I mean, listen, you can tell. You can just look at his face in terms of the weight loss. You can tell that he was clearly sick over the course of the when I was watching that video over the weekend. But good to see him speaking. Listen, if you're, especially for our black men, myself included, you gotta get yourself checked out. You gotta go to the doctor. Go to the doctor. Stay in the doctor. And you got health benefits. You got them for a reason. So I don't, especially at any age. I mean, you have guys, people unfortunately dropping dead, 30s, 40s in particular. You gotta check it. You gotta take care of yourself and check yourself and go to the doctor. Again, we don't know what happened with Jamie Foxx, but it was definitely good to see him back in the mix and speaking and up and seemingly feeling relatively healthy as comparisons to what it was looking like, say, a month ago. Before I let you go, of course, Nas came out last week with Magic 2, his 5th album with the Hit Boy connection, which has been nothing but magic. So, listen, we have not seen a run like this. Forget about a rapper at this stage in his career. We have not seen a run like this, maybe, frankly, ever, in terms of 5 consecutive albums. And they're they're already making KD3 as well. He said during the album that KD3 was halfway done. So you certainly anticipate that coming out before the year is out. And again, I just appreciate greatness, appreciate artistry. Listen, I love hip hop, grew up on it. There's a lot of bullshit in hip hop right now. There's a lot of garbage out there. Anybody can put out an album. Anybody can. It's a lot of shit that's out here right now. So when you hear Nas come out, when you hear Killer Mike, appreciate greatness, appreciate art, appreciate artists who care about hip hop beyond all the spoils, the money, and the attention. These are guys, Nas in particular. When you listen to Nas, you listen to someone who respects the craft, who is a technician, who is a pure artist, and he was doing Nas is one of the best writers. Forget about hip hop, just writers in general. Like some of these guys, the Nas's of the world, the Jay-Z's of the world. These are some of the greatest writers that on the face of the earth that the world has ever seen. In general, not just hip hop. I'm talking about. I'll put them against Stephen King, any writer, whoever you want to put, whoever book writer that you want to put against. I'll put Nas and all some of these guys up against. So appreciate the artistry of a guy from Nasir Jones, because it does not. This is a once in a life. The type of talent, the type of dedication to what he's to the craft. This is a once in a lifetime talent. And once in a lifetime, it is not going to be. There will not be another Nasir Jones as long as he's on this earth. They will die. I promise you, because because number one, the closest thing to Nas is probably Kendrick. It's the closest thing. So that would be Kendrick is probably the closest thing that we've seen to Nas. But outside of that, there's just no one out there like that, like a Nasir Jones. There's not, because it's just because the bottom line is there's too much money in hip hop right now. You don't have to be. That artistry doesn't get paid. It doesn't. You don't get paid for being an artist. You get paid for putting out hits. That's just the way it is right now. And I'm not trying to sound like the old man on the get off my lawn, but that's just the reality of the game right now. You don't have to come out with a classic, you don't have to come out with a classic and to be relevant. You just don't. Seemingly anybody and everybody is dropping music right now. But there's still certain guys who are out there, like I said, Nas, Killer Mike to say, just name a few, who are out there putting out high quality stuff. Black Thought, We're out there still performing at a very high level. And now again, Nas is at the highest level right now. He's as good as he's ever been. Now again, there'll never be another Illmatic album. That's a once in a lifetime album. That might be the greatest hip hop album of all time. It's in that conversation. It's one of the best albums of all time. But the level that he's occupying right now, that he's performing at right now, is a level that is rarely seen, will rarely ever be seen by any hip hop, by any rap artist. Because let's be honest, this generation of artists coming up just don't love it, don't have that same passion for the art that they did in the past, that they have in the past, in the 80s and the 90s and what have you. They just don't. Again, there's just a lot. Most of it is money. It's just too much money in the game. Like, there was a time, back in the day, you had to actually produce hits and albums and classics to get paid. Now you don't have to produce. You don't have to have hits to get paid. Guys are getting money in hip hop before they actually go out there and accomplish anything. That's just the reality. If you come out with one hit or one catchy song or catchy tune, you can become an Instagram star or a YouTube star overnight. You can't in hip hop. Now, would that last over the course of 10, 15, 20 years? No. But, I don't know how many guys are looking to have 15, 20-year careers. And that's another thing about Nas, the longevity. He's been at it since, 91? You're talking over 30 years. Came out in 94. Illmatic came out in November of 94. Next year, it'll be 30 years worth of albums. 30 years of albums. Think about that at the level that he's been at. So, pick up the album Magic. Not pick it up. Stream it, listen to it. Again, efficient. 32 minutes. 32 minutes. That's all the album is. So you can run it over and over and over again. All these albums have been efficient as far as the minutes played, between 32 and 45 minutes somewhere. Even with KD, even with the King's Disease 1 and 2. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Ril Dil Podcast. As always, thanks for listening. This podcast will be up sometime tomorrow afternoon. Have a great rest of your evening. So long.